Hey everyone, I am Erika Boulavsky. I'm the Community Outreach Specialist with HD Reach, and I am so excited. I'm always excited. Lauren knows this, but I'm extra excited because we've got Lauren, we've got H, we've got Melissa, we've got everyone here, and this is just I just love this group of people. They're close to my heart. But we all got to experience Prague Congress, the HDYO Congress in Prague. I know I just say Prague, and I'm like. Yeah,
Expecting everybody to know.
yeah, everybody knows it's Prague, but HDYO Congress in Prague, Huntington's Disease Youth Organization. And so what I wanted to do is get this group together and talk about our experiences, talk about, we're going to do some live reactions to H's live reactions.
Ooh.
He did, he live reacted to a lot of these sessions, came out of it and recorded himself, which is just mind blowing because I wouldn't be able to do that. And Melissa and Lauren have not seen those reactions yet. So they're actually going to be live reacting to his live reactions. And then we're also going to be mixing in a lot of our experiences and hope that, for those watching this video, you can get some background information on what Congress is, HDO in general, their resources and supports. And if you feel like it's a good avenue for you as a young adult to attend one of their meetings in the future or their Congress, or maybe something on a smaller scale, become an ambassador. I don't know. There's a lot of things that you can do with HDO. So with that, please grab a tea, coffee, whatever your favorite beverage is. We're eating dinner. We're having our little snacks and drinks.
Yum.
So we're amongst friends here tonight. So, all right. Prague, HDO Prague. Does anybody want to start off?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah.
Oh, look
I'm
at
super
that.
excited because, like you said, we're talking about some of the reaction videos. And I wanted to touch on the fact that the majority of these videos were made almost immediately after the session. So the feelings are still really fresh. Everything's really raw and just honest. And I love being able to share that side of myself with everyone because I feel like it shares the truest side of HD for me. And I enjoy sharing that just because it makes me feel really authentic with everybody. And so getting to share that lot, get some live reactions from Lauren and Melissa today is really exciting because that'll be the first glimpse of people getting to see this side.
I'm gonna add, H, this was your first event ever.
Well, and
Oh,
and I want to say something because this is something that I realized too. So we all live in North Carolina, and H actually lives like 20 minutes from me, but we didn't realize that until we were in Prague.
yep.
And and
Had to
so it's
be at the farthest point ever to realize that you're.
Yes.
yeah, and for me it's really cool to see like his first event and to be able to interact and get that experience and realize like he's 20 minutes for me. So, yeah.
That is so cool. Yeah, I remember one point H, coming from around the corner looking all teary-eyed and Erica's like, "Hey, did you just do a video?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh man." So good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gotta
It was
get
also
gotta get them all.
yeah, it was also my first not HD event. Obviously, I've been in it for a minute, but it was my first HDO Congress. And just recently, this past August, was my first experience at the HDO North American camp, which is usually surprising to a lot of people because I've been around a while. So everyone thinks that I've already been there, and
I
I
didn't know
haven't.
that. I
Yeah,
That's really surprising.
yeah. And I sent an email, and I'm becoming an HDO ambassador. So
Woo!
I'm
yay!
one too, so that's really exciting.
Well,
Yes.
before we move on, what is an ambassador for
So
those watching?
so an ambassador, HDO ambassador, are people that I mean, it's a really good group of people globally across the world meeting. Um, and one of the best things is like just sharing our experiences within our HDO ambassador group. And we got to basically be a support system, but also learn about the different cultures in different areas, learn about what's going on in different areas. And a lot of our HDO ambassadors are very involved with HD awareness and advocacy and really trying to promote HD. We do videos and different like top tips for HD. So every month there are different things that we participate in to help bring awareness to HD. And it's just a really good group of people. Like you've got it's such a diverse group and from all over. And so if you ever feel like you need to talk to somebody, somebody's awake. And it's just really cool to get the perspectives from all over the world.
How would I find an HDYO ambassador or all these resources?
It is listed on the HDYO website. We have our own spot on the website, so you can go there and just look up the HDYO ambassadors and we're listed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
I
love it.
also do, here's a shameless plug for me, but I also do an HDYO ambassador series on the podcast to help
Hey.
introduce the different ambassadors.
Yeah, for those who do not know, Lauren is also the Help for HD podcast host.
Yeah.
Lauren has
do
like
that too.
20,000 hats and does amazing.
Lots of hats.
And Supermom on top of that.
Oh God. That's questionable. But thank you.
I will say I'm really excited to like see H's reactions and kind of go back to Congress in Prague because I think it was my first time really at a HD event that I didn't have a role. Like I signed up to volunteer, of course, because I can't help myself. But it still wasn't to the extent that I volunteer when I'm at like the HDSA convention or at HD Reach or part of the Team Hope Walks and I think it kind of helped me reset, honestly. I think I've been talking to a lot of people about like burnout, and I'm definitely one of the jumped straight into the deep end kind of folks. And I think the last few years, especially with COVID and just a lot of changes, I've been kind of trying to figure out like where, where my pocket back in is or where my space is again. And it's kind of like a rediscovering process. So I felt like Congress is the first time I was like, really able to sit in a session and like take it in and not be thinking about all the other things I need to organize and do and take care of. And so for me, it was a great experience because of that, on top of like all the wonderful content and speakers and everything like that.
Yeah, because I feel like for like a first time, like somebody who's trying to attend an event, something like an international conference with like 360 young adults is super like an overwhelming idea because you add HD on top of that. Like I guess H for you, like as a and Melissa as well, like for you guys, like coming into this like new-ish, was this like kind of the perfect toe into this experience? Like was Congress just I guess
So I think I know what you're getting asking
yeah,
about.
I'm trying to like do you feel like that was a really good first experience, I guess, for you, H?
Yeah, I mean that was my first. I mean, been doing Game Over HD for
Yeah.
about a year, but like that was my first HD event. Like
Yeah.
done some local meetups, but as far as like HD event, that was my first one in general. And so but I would have to say that it is person to person. It was what I needed. It was absolutely what I needed to just like absolutely engulf myself in the community and just be surrounded on all sides with everything. And but the nice thing about it was that you could approach it at whatever speed, even though it was all around you.
Yeah.
That's really tough to explain, I think, unless you're just like there in it. But like people are so encouraging to be like, oh, like, do you need to step to the side for a minute? Like, let's have a mental health conversation real quick before we break out into sessions and talk about how we can leave a room. And if we need assistance, like this is how you can alert someone that you might need to talk as you make your way out of a space. And then there was no pressure to constantly be involving yourself in a session, whether it be like science-based, like education, or more like the social dynamic side of things, which is just really, really nice. So you had every option to just jump straight in and get into everything, or like, I want to go to this one session today, and that's going to be enough to fill my cup.
Great. You explained that way better than I asked that. So that was great. That's
Hey,
exactly what I was getting at.
wavelength.
Right here.
And as I
Game
told
over,
you,
Mads.
as I told you guys, I know I've said it multiple times, but you know, having done this 20 years now, for me, this was by far the best event that I have been to, and it was absolutely incredible. And I think H, you said it perfectly, because you could do it at whichever speed you needed, and there was no pressure, and those connections were still being made, and you still felt like you were getting something out of it. Um, and it was just special. It was such a special thing. And for me, I needed it. You know, you were going into this H, like it's your first event. You need that to, you know, jump all in, and that's how you felt. And for me, on on that side of burnout, as a long time patient advocate and constantly dealing with all aspects of HD, not just as an advocate, but also in my own personal life, for me, it was incredible because it was filling that cup back up, right? To be around the people who, to see the enthusiasm and motivation of people who wanted to learn about advocacy, who wanted to do something, be a part of something, understand what, you know, what was going on. And you could see how much it all meant to everybody.
Mhm.
And we didn't even have to say anything to each other. We just knew it. We understood. There was no, you know, no judgment, nothing. And yeah, you could do it at your own speed. It was incredible.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that really sticks out in my mind, like sort of around that topic, is one of the last nights we were there, we went out on the town, we were hanging out, and I look over and like everybody that was just up there talking like 10 levels above my head on a neurology scale was standing right beside me, like, hey, let's go have a drink. And I was like, y'all are coming out with us? And they were like, yeah, why wouldn't we? I was like, yes. I was like, this is the cool stuff. Like how, I don't know, like everything in my experience with HD, anybody that touches it just sort of like gets pulled in. Like you just, I was explaining to somebody the other day, and I was like, like it feels like you were just being covered with a weighted blanket that is nothing but love.
Yeah.
And so you get a little bit of that taste, and you're like, why would I want to be anywhere else?
Oh, I got
Such a
goosebumps.
perfect way of putting it. Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's a wrap, guys. That's
All right. No, that's fine. Okay.
That's beautiful, Age.
Oh man,
Nice.
the
I'm
poet.
just like ditto.
Exactly.
Well, let's go ahead and get into these videos, because I know we can kind of talk all day long, because I know I will, like, again, these are you guys are amazing, so we could just sit here and chat about this for eternity. But let's go ahead and get to the first video. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, play this video, and then go back to you guys.
I know that guy.
All right, so we're finally here, registered, checked in, walking around. They've got some really, really cool educational booths. Lots of really nice people to talk to about resources, places you can find help with whatever you're looking at, whether it be genetics, research, your local clinics. You know, it is just packed full of information, and it is full, y'all. I mean, it is corner to corner in here. It is awesome. It's going to be a good day.
So I love this video, one, because you pointed out, like, it was full, right? They had a 95% retention rate for the last session.
Wow.
So until the end,
Wow.
that is what their retention rate was.
That's impressive.
That's impressive. That doesn't happen, especially with HD events. Like, usually you don't have that. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
amazing, and it was packed.
I was
I
gonna, I was
loved
gonna
it.
say, yeah, I was gonna say too, for being like a weekend, like the timing and the structure was different from the events we typically go to, which is usually the National HDSA convention. And a lot of it is due to just people traveling, time zone changing, but it, so it kind of felt surreal because I'm so used to a certain kind of schedule. But registration opened at 10 a.m. on a Friday.
Yeah.
And there was an 11 a.m. session for first time attendees, but there was also lunch. And then the opening ceremony wasn't until 12:15. Um, so I felt like it was a nice way for people to get in, kind of warm up, and then for people who are first time attendees, not feel the pressure of like, oh my gosh, I have to get there at 8 a.m. if I want to like find out what to expect, or feeling like they're getting divided from the rest of the attendees who are like, well, they're going to go into a different session, and and so I really liked how that was structured and the way the exhibit hall was set up with all of those things like the signage, and to have so many resources. And we had people from what, 36, 37 countries
Yeah.
represented there. So that's, and I met a lot of great people. I was at the registration desk and I was meeting people from all over, and I was trying my best to learn things in different languages to help people feel welcomed. And it was just
Yeah.
really cool.
That was nice. One of the first things I remember, and for the most part, y'all know me as being like a pretty outgoing person. Like I can talk to pretty much anybody, and I'm sort of like lingering around the table there before I get like my name tag and stuff. And somebody that has very obviously like done this before, been to a congress, was like, "Hey, who are you? What's your name? Come over here!" Like just immediately, I was like, okay, like these are my people, and super welcoming, and they were just an attendee. I mean, like they were there for the same reasons I was there, and but they saw me sort of filling things out, and they were like, "Get over here. We're gonna do this together."
Yeah. And I agree with Melissa, like we're used to a certain setup, and to have that different type of schedule made it a lot easier for me personally. I like how they had the day set up too. So like first day they had grief and loss and the mental health and really important what to expect type of sessions versus later on. And I think that setup was really great too. Let's get this heavy stuff out of the way and address, some main things, but then we're focusing on all the feel good stuff. And so I really liked that setup as well.
Yeah, because I think they also like, it was intentional about like the first day being all together
Yes.
and kind of navigating some of those like more difficult like topics while also like how to cope with it, how to, there's going to be a lot of feelings, how to be safe throughout the weekend with your feelings, and how they're, HGO and the team is gonna what they're gonna do to like support everyone. And then like the next day was like breakouts, and there's like, a lot of different things that you can go to. And then the last day was again everybody together. And so I feel like it felt like this, it just had a really great flow to it.
Yeah, I think it was really putting down the roots. I'm cheating, just so you all know. I'm looking at the agenda right now, so that's why I have some facts here.
Yeah.
um,
Am I
but
wrong?
but yeah, the first day was like get to know your table, and then talking about grief and loss, and then a break, and then something called speed dating. But it was like everyone go to a table with an orange card if you prefer the fall season, go to a table with a blue card if you prefer the winter season. Like they did a lot to mix people up and mingle. um and I think it was like, you all need to know that you're here for each other, you're here to support each other, and then let's get into the stuff the next day. So I thought that was a really great way to structure it.
I also love this is just because I helped create the list, but I love that they did the research terminology. Um, and a huge need for that in our HD space. And so they tackled that and did a session on it the first day, which was great.
Yeah, which we all know research can be hard, very hard.
Mhm.
So to have something like that ahead of time and for Congress, like I know that was a big thing too, that they unveiled, like, hey, we have this like research terminology list now, and also throughout the weekend, we're also going to have very kind of um, very friendly forms of educational sessions that breaks down a lot of these really, really tough topics for a lot of people. It doesn't matter the degree or where you're from. Like research can be a very big pill to swallow. And so what they did was I felt like they really did a great job in doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we will check out the second video. H is still looking bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name's H. I was at the opening session for HDYO International Congress. It was a blast. Got to see some traditional Czech dancing, and then we got straight in. We started talking about our goals for Congress in general, and looking at what we're trying to get out of this. Um, and it really made me feel motivated. I wrote down, I've got notes here because I just want to be, I want to be real with you. I want you to know this is important to me to share. It, it made me feel motivated, determined, connected, and understood. That opening session was powerful and brought about a lot of strong feelings that have me really eager to see what the rest of this is going to be, to see what not only what I can get out of this Congress, but my peers and everyone that I've already come to know and care about. What did I learn about that during that opening session? The biggest takeaway that I had from that opening session was that I am not alone. And I cannot stress that to you all enough. You are not alone. We are not alone. And you have so many people to share this experience with. You're not alone.
So go ahead, Melissa. I'll go after.
No, goosebumps. That's
Yeah.
my first comment.
Yeah. What's for me, and one of the reasons I'm so emotional about it is this was a very meaningful moment for me as well. And I was recording this opening session, and you know, I do a lot of advocacy work, and to come into that space and to see that motivation and to see, I remember saying to Seth Rotberg, like, there's that passion there for advocacy, for speaking up about HD that we as longtime advocates want to see, right? Because we're eventually going to have to pass stuff down. And that was a moment for me where I was realizing that we had it. We had the people. We had the people we were not alone, as H said. Like there was our next generation that was there to fight our next HD warriors. And so it was a really meaningful moment for me for that opening ceremony. So it's really cool to see what your reaction was, H, to that.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think that I think too it was one of those things where it's like the first time you're in a room where, for the majority, most people were age 35, 18 to 35. A lot of people in their like 20s, late 20s, 30s. And so it was such a concentrated group of like those people that have the momentum and the motivation. And, other events, you've got like a mixed bag of, all of us, and some people have paved the advocacy road. And so to be in a room like this and to see all these people stand up and raise their hands and show how they're being active, not only like here in the US, but to see that
Mhm.
advocacy across all of these different countries and like these ambassadors from all these different places and like the barriers that they face, which was another session that was just, yeah,
Brings things into perspective, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah, it does.
Makes me grateful for where we are, where we may be struggling sometimes to advocate for things in the US, but when you look at what other places are having to deal with, it makes
Mhm.
me very grateful for where we are.
Yeah. I'm glad that was like your first like initial like gut feeling H about just like not being alone because I hope that's what everyone feels every time they enter any HD event space, regardless of what it is or who it's geared towards. And like I felt like that going to my first support group and I was like, wow, I'm not alone. And then I don't know if this will be true for you, H, but I would also like rebound from those moments where, I'd be like, great, I'm not so alone. And then I'm like, okay, well, no one in my support group is my age and gets what I'm going through. And then I went to my first convention in National Youth Alliance Day and I got sat at a table and Amanda, who's an amazing advocate in our community, sat me down and she's like, so their mom has HD, their mom had HD, and you lost your mom to HD. So there you go. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Now, and so it was constantly like refitting in with like a new group of people that would like further that feeling of not feeling alone. But like it would ebb and flow in a way just because we're all going through like such specific things at different times. But that's definitely the general takeaway is that you're not alone. We're not alone. I'm not alone.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like that you bring up like the intergenerational challenge of HD. It's it's unique because, like you said, everybody's sort of on a different track, and age is a factor. This one instance, the International Congress, like you said, has a very I don't want to say hard line, but a line at least that exists. So you're getting at least a lot of the same energy and a lot of the same. I don't know how to put this. A lot of the this you sort of everybody's at the same a similar mental state around HD. Like based just talking age based here, sort of interested and eager to learn and motivated to have an impact, and so with that energy, I mean it really you can't avoid it.
Well,
it
but I also think this is where we've seen a shift in our community, right? Because historically, um, these earlier ages were not looked at. It's not, we've not been included in this part of HD, right? And so there's this gap for this group of people who are living with HD, and their caregivers and that's historically how it's been. And what this event showed was a shift to these earlier young caregivers and people dealing with HD finally being recognized and their energy and motivation finally, you know, being there because it wasn't there before because there was no reason for it, right? Like so this has not been a thing. This has not been a thing in our community. We had NYA, obviously, which was, yes, there's that bond there, but it still wasn't this level of connecting and, like you said, that motivation and this mindset of where everybody was. And it was truly special to see because it's the first time I've seen it truly like this shift in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And for those watching, Huntington's Disease Society of America, so HDSA, their youth and young adult program is the National Youth Alliance, the NYA, and
Which
that
is how we know each other.
which is how we know it, but it's also for the United States,
Yeah.
right? So Canada has what's called YPAD, Young
Right.
People affected by Huntington's disease. And you have all these different kind of like different specific region or like areas that might have their little local agencies or by country or whatever. But HDYO is like the first kind of like real like international that goes, okay, let's bring everybody in this age range that I previously has had to fight quite a bit to get a seat at the table essentially. But let's bring all these people together in one place. And that they did that also with camps. They were doing a lot of camps throughout the world. And, you know, instead of the United States camp, it's a North American camp. And, you know, they've kind of been at the forefront of like, there needs to be global support and connectedness. And now, you know, to have a Congress, this is, you know, the largest event for an international event, period. Right? Like it's, I mean,
Yeah, but especially for young people.
for young people to come into one place is massive.
Right. And when we say young people, we're not talking about, you know, just adolescents. It's truly like up to 30s. And I mean, I'm 39 and I was very accepted. You know, so but I mean, for me also knowing how HDYO was started and what the dream was for HDYO and being at the like seeing those steps, right, to get to the point of starting the organization and all of those things for Matt Ellison, and then seeing his dream come true in this event was just phenomenal. I mean, this is exactly what it was supposed to be. So it's incredible.
And to anyone out there that has like that dream to start something, like all of these organizations, these events are responding to like what the community needs
Yeah.
and what we need. And the National Youth Alliance, even like my first NYA day, I think they had just hit a record amount of attendees at like, you know, 30 or 40. And then the most recent one, I think we were at 80. And, you know, so when we're creating these pockets of resources, the people will come. And I think what HDYO is doing internationally is just superb. It's amazing to see how they've connected with so many other national organizations in other countries and are just connecting the dots. Great.
And somebody's got to do it.
Right.
That's true. That's right.
Well, and again, this for me personally, this is showing collaboration within our community on a global scale, because you're right, they're connecting in all of these communities and they're connecting with their young population and creating this amazing system that goes beyond that, and truly will go back to families and help in ways that has not been there. So yeah, I mean, it's this global collaboration that's phenomenal.
All right. Next video.
I'm not going to cry the whole time, I promise.
Yeah, good luck.
You're welcome.
Hey everybody, I'm back again. I've got a little green screen behind
I
me.
was about to say there's a greenery.
I just went to a session called Preparing You for Congress. That was with Bonning and Pressman. I'm so sorry if I butchered that.
There you go.
But that session was about self-care, and then a new concept for me and maybe some of you, the post-Congress Downer syndrome, which I really hadn't even taken into consideration. That was really important for me to hear because it talked about how after Congress, Congress can be this really big high, and it's kind of fun. But after Congress, you go back to life. You go back to facing things, and facing things sometimes independently. And that can sort of be a tough adjustment for people. And I needed to hear that. That session really had me feeling relaxed, relieved, and safe. And the reason I felt relieved was because I felt like everybody was on the same page. I felt like everyone in the room was relatable in that session. That made me feel relieved. It made me feel comfortable and safe. We talk about our safe spaces all the time. There is no better safe space than being surrounded by the people that are impacted like you.
Bonnie would just be so like grateful for that, I think, because you felt safe there. And yeah, that's awesome.
That's definitely what she's going for. Yeah, and I think that's become more of an emphasis lately about talking about these post-Congress blues, post-camp blues, post-convention blues. Dr. Bonnie has a fancier term for it that she's come up with, but it is hard because, like we were just talking about earlier, like all of a sudden you're in this room and you're in this overwhelming feeling of not being alone, and then you go back home and you're doing your day-to-day stuff and you're walking into work and you're surrounded by 100 people and you're like, wow, I've never felt so alone because I was in a different space. I think it's important to, when you're going to an event like this, to really solidify those connections and make sure you have that support in place, and to be able to get through like those kind of like post-event blues. And I think that can happen even with like smaller things, like if it's a support group or a Team Hope Walk or an education day. It may not be as deep because some of these, like these big events, like you really form really strong bonds with people, like you have the time to, and so it makes it not much harder to realize that they're not still with you when you go back home.
So that's a great point. I do feel like videos like this actually help with that, at least for me, because I get that feeling of not being alone. And this is also where the HDYO ambassadors group is really great because it's something, again, that we've been discussing in the group. And so we can all sit there and talk about those feelings and feel like we still have that support. So it's really great too.
I'm wondering, H, like seeing your reaction to that and like what you learned from that, like how was post-Congress for you? Did you feel like you had those blues they warned about? Or did you feel like you were able to use any of those tools, or what was that like?
That's actually a part of one of the videos that we might get to today, so I'm going to leave that question for after that. But just to touch on that, I think it was better because I was expecting it. So having that conversation, when we had that conversation, was really important. Just to get it out there, just to get it on people's minds. Like this may be something that you experience. So just know about it now instead of going home and being like, what is going on right now? Like, why do I feel like the world isn't making sense? So I'm really appreciative of Dr. Bonnie and how she went about that. And the one thing that really sticks out of my mind, even now, about that session was the breathing exercise. I was like, for a second, I was like, oh, this is sort of gonna be cheesy. And then like we're deep into it, right? And I'm like, let me like look around here. And so I like peek around and everyone, I'm talking like everyone was like, I was like, everybody's in this. Like, I was like, not a single soul was like, oh, no, this isn't for me. Every single person was participating, and it was just so nice. It was just like, it was fuzzy and warm. I can feel it right now. Just talking about it.
I'm just picturing if you were like peeking around and that's the moment everyone else decided to peek around,
That
like
was
how that
so
would
funny.
Me and one person across the room, like,
That's hilarious.
All right, we've got another one lined up.
Hey there, just got out of a session called Grief and Loss. That one was really tough. People showed a lot of courage and shared some of their most personal moments with the rest of the group. And that was really that was really empowering. It was really impressive to see people open up and share about themselves in a very sensitive way. But that comes from, I mean, we're a few hours into a 3-day Congress, and that's how comfortable people are. That's how comfortable people make you feel. Is we can share these stories together, and people will listen, and you will feel heard. It was very, very moving. That session was led by Dr. Bob, and he made me feel introspective. It really had me looking at myself and how I process things, and how I could process things, and how I could approach situations. And really the takeaways were, you know, and there, you have to acknowledge your feelings right off the bat. Your feelings are valid, and need to be known. And what do you have control over? The the things that you have control over are what you should worry about. And the things that you can't, you have to navigate, and react to, and it's all based upon that reaction. We talked about some things like anticipatory, I got that, anticipatory grief, and chronic stress. Those are really deep topics that I encourage you to look into. I'm sure you could find something just through a simple Google search, or maybe HDYO would have some extra notes on that. If not, I know that Dr. Bob with HDYO would have some information around that. That was a really good session, and I'm really thankful that I went to that one. That, like I said, that one was called Grief and Loss, and it was every bit as heavy as I thought it was going to be, but it was even more beneficial than I thought it would be.
Yeah. I didn't get to go to that session. I had wanted to, but I was dealing with really bad back pain, and so I had to actually take a break. But I'm glad that you went and that you had such a good experience with that. And shameless plug again. I do have an podcast episode, the Help for HD podcast, about grief and loss and anticipatory grief and all of that. So you can always go to the podcast and get that information too.
Good. I mean, that's perfect. That's what part of the video is about, was where can people find out about some of this?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to touch on that. I think you hear the topic grief and loss, and the first thing you think about is like the death of a loved one. And it's becoming a more well-rounded topic in our community, I think, of talking about all the different types of grief and loss. And I'm still finding new ways people are experiencing that. Like, a lot of people in the HD community, myself included, experience grief and loss around testing, whether we test gene positive or gene negative, or grief and loss when someone else tests gene positive, gene negative, whether it's a family member or a friend or one of the members of our Ohana in this vast community that becomes our family. And anticipatory grief is something that has snuck up on me before, so I'm glad that that's like becoming more at the forefront and just really exploring all those different topics. And like you said, it's meant to be heavy because it touches something, and it's something that I think even if someone hasn't experienced something as the finality of losing somebody, they can think about all these different ways you can experience grief and loss, and I think it's core to human connection. And I think that's just such a great point of the Congress to do that, where we're spending the whole first day getting to know you, getting prepared for Congress, getting to know each other, and you're building these connections with people, and then just jumping right into the heavy stuff because you're like, you know what, it's all around us. Grief and loss is in many factors of our lives, not even just an HD life, a life with HD. That there's just so many factors to it. So being able to get that support. And yeah, there were quite a few people that, they passed around the microphone for some people to share some things. And like I said, I was able to be in that space. And I think I was constantly having to like tell myself to like stay in it because I've been disassociating so bad lately. And staying in it and like hearing those things from people is what ties me back in. Like that's what makes me dive in because I want to I empathize with people and I know those feelings and I want to know their feelings and I want to be there for them and support them. And I'm all for a good cry. So
Melissa, will you do me a favor and explain what disassociating is for people who don't understand what it is?
yeah, disassociating is if you've ever, you know, been in a party and everyone's having a great time and talking and laughing and fun and you're just completely disconnected from it and you can't figure out why. Um, like that's been happening to me a lot. Or if I'm, at an event and, there's a presentation going on and I'm constantly thinking about something else and keeping my mind busy with other things that I have to do. I feel like that's also a form of disassociating where I can't like stay in the moment. And yeah.
So I think it's really, and I thank you because I just want people to understand what it is when they hear it. And I think we all kind of go through something like that because when you deal with this stress of HD in your life, whether it's, taking care of a loved one or, being at risk or whatever it is, sometimes that's your only coping mechanism. And because you can't always get away from it. And so I think it's important people realize like that is something that happens. It's normal. And it doesn't mean that you're going to feel that way all the time. And realize like sometimes that is a coping mechanism and can absolutely be related to that grief process. And, for me personally, I have started learning that I am constantly going through the grief cycle. Ever since testing positive, like it's this constant thing. And as new things, as a caregiver, so there was grief in that and that anticipatory grief. And now, outside of that caregiving and dealing with HD with myself, and it's this constant cycle when new things pop up. And so, yeah, I don't think that we ever get out of that space. And sometimes you disassociate in order to cope. So I don't want people to be afraid of that and think
Yeah, because
you're
sometimes
always
it's
going to be
okay.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes I'm like, I need a 20-minute doom scroll. Like I need to be mindless and even things like that with technology, right? Like I'm trying to stay away from my phone and not do that, but sometimes I'm like, I don't want to put on a TV show I have to think about. I don't want to doodle an art project that I have to think about. Like I just want to doom scroll.
Yeah.
But then when it's like an hour and a half, I'm like, ooh,
Right.
I didn't need that much.
Yeah, the important part is that recognizing it.
Yeah.
hmm And I think like,
Finding the balance.
yeah, and I think like you said, constantly going through a grief cycle. I feel like grief is just a core human experience. And I've always felt like if I could rewrite the definition of life, it would be coping. All we're doing is coping. That's life. It's all about coping and getting through one day to the next and living your life to the fullest in the best way possible.
It's hard to believe that there are people out there who that's not their life, right? Like just trying to get through the next day. But yeah, I mean, that is what we are in with what
Mhm,
we deal with.
mhm.
So yeah.
I did want to touch on one thing back to the Congress and that session specifically was when I was looking at the agenda, I was like, I got nervous when I first saw that was like, all right, here you go. Like we're throwing you straight in. But when I look back on it, uh, the way I look at it is that was HDYO's way of controlling it. Like it was their way of saying like you're probably gonna face this while you're here, or you're gonna face some kind of emotions while you're here. So we're gonna take it head on. We're gonna grab it by the horns right now, and we're gonna help prepare you and give you the tools to navigate those feelings.
Proactive instead of reactive.
Yes.
Yeah, and they offered a mental health room that Erika was one of the volunteers for, with a couple other social workers that you could book appointments with, or you could just walk in at any time and they were in there. So I think they were really like laying the groundwork of like, we can't go around it. We
Yeah.
just got to go through it. We're gonna dive right into it, and we can do that because we have these support and resources readily available for you here, and teaching everyone to like build their own support with each other, and being able to navigate that. But I agree.
Well,
I think when I first saw that on the agenda, I was like, one, that's different.
oh, I was super excited. I was so excited that they were doing it because again, I mean, Erica and I have discussed this about how it's this taboo topic, right? Like we don't discuss these things in our community and we suffer for it. And so, those are the taboo things that you've got to bring up and deal with head on. So I was super excited to see that it was on there. I hated that I missed it. But again, going back to that self-care and that's one of those moments where I had to take care of, myself. But yeah, I'm really, really glad. And again, this is another area where collaboration was shining through because you had the social workers and support system that was from all different organizations. It wasn't just HDYO. And you could tell that they were there working together, didn't matter what organization, they were there to support. And it just was shining through. It was incredible.
So this is the last like reaction video, and then the video after that is like the week follow-up. So this is the last one at Congress.
Hey everybody, just got out of a session called Dual Perspectives. That was a really tough session for me. Really made me think about my relationships, the impact of HD on my relationships, and the people I care about most. And it was good. I mean, I know I'm crying, but it was good. It was insightful. It was bonding. It was emotional. People were raw and authentic. And just really nice to be in a place where I feel like I can be, where I can be raw and I can be authentic, and people understand and they don't judge, and you don't have to explain anything. I am so thankful to be here. And I could tell by the sessions that I'm going to and the conversations that are being had that this will be this will have a lasting impact on me and how I navigate HD, and how I encourage other people to navigate HD. I can't think of a better place to be right now. And I'm so thankful for this opportunity.
Honest and vulnerable and open, like it's huge to have that. That session for me was my favorite. It was my favorite session. And you know, there's sessions done all the time about relationships at HD, but never this dual, like dual perspectives on things. And getting to see both sides, right? Like we usually get one side of things, and but to have the dual perspectives was incredible, and the way it was done. And yeah, it was my favorite. So but just to see your reaction, and yeah, I mean, thank you for being so vulnerable and willing to share what you honestly felt.
Yeah, of course. The same way that you were talking earlier about grief and loss and how it's something that like we don't talk about or we don't share. I feel the same way about our humanity. So it's for me, it's very intentional to be real and just and like we can edit and we can cut things out and we can do this and that, but like the real like sharing sharing the real processes and how something is impacting you in the moment, to me is the best way for people to understand the weight of things or how it could benefit them. um so I'm just here.
What specifically about that session, just like what part of it really led you to feel that way?
Ooh, ooh. um it was had a lot to do with my wife and a lot of regrets for how I've navigated things with her in the past with HD. Um, we've talked about it now since Congress, which has been fantastic. Again, probably would have not even realized the importance of that conversation in our relationship or like or for like our bond and our connection without that experience. So very thankful for that. But being able to come home and reflect on that dual perspective session and then navigate a conversation with my wife about HD was I didn't even know I needed it until I was there.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what made me feel so heavily about that session.
And to just give some background, so the dual perspective session was, and one of the reasons that for me it was so different and it was so good. You know, the first session you had a person who's gene positive, and the dual perspective was a husband. And then it was somebody who was at risk, and her father was the dual perspective. And then somebody who was gene positive, and it was their sibling and the relationship there. And then the last one was a mom of someone with JHD, juvenile HD, and her dual perspective was her husband, who was the stepfather for the kid with JHD. And I've never seen a panel like that, where normally it's the husband and wife, and you know that's the focus, and it's at risk or gene positive, and to have those perspectives and to hear them in their relationships. And for me it was because I've heard I've heard the relationship. I live the relationships thing with my husband. So, but for me, it was the siblings and the father and daughter, got to me. And yeah, because I've got kids. And so that sibling relationship matters so much more now,
They
than ever.
did a great job of having a variety
Yeah.
on
it
that
was
panel.
incredible. Yeah. So that's the part that really got me. So.
Yeah, and I think that panel too had a bit more of like an age range and just different and there's some cultural differences on the panel as well. And it was I mean it was my first time attending a panel like that where I actually did one person I do kind of know, but the rest of the people I didn't know. I didn't know their stories already. And so it was another session where I was trying to really remain present. And I appreciated that they were back to back. Because sometimes like I've been to other events where they try to do that and it's like they're not quite back to back or they're like one day and then the next day. And it's so I'm really glad that they ran it like that and selected the people that they did. Because the emotion was just really raw. And thank you again, H, for sharing like your reactions to that. I think that it's helpful for people to know that, you know, I guess people would expect you to react and cry talking about grief and loss, but it's like you reacted and you're more moved by like a session, which just goes to show that like for anyone out there who, you know, hasn't attended an event like this or is wanting to or maybe has and is also navigating these different up and down feelings that happen during a convention or a congress, like chances are you're going to find someone else out there crying if you want to cry too, or someone else that wants to go for a walk if you want to go for a walk, and someone, you know, and I was like, I need to go get some Pringles. Like that's what I need to do right now. Like, and someone else wanted to go get Pringles. Like, and so you're gonna build that support network, and you're gonna have those people there, while you're really embracing these stories. But I think hearing from people and their perspectives just really can touch on so many different things because it's not the textbook presentation, right? It's not the bullet points of the things that were like, yes, yes, that's of course, like that's how I'm going to feel if, you know, I have a partner and we're a caregiver for someone, like, yeah, sure. But just hearing people's experiences really like can get you thinking. And regardless of how long you've been in the community or how fresh you are to it. And I'm really glad that you were able to take so much back from that and use that in your relationship to each. And I love your wife. She's so sweet.
I keep telling everybody she's so much better than I am, and they're like, and I'm like, okay, but wait.
We know.
Yeah.
Like we got to meet her at Education Day. Well, I met her before then, but everybody else got to meet her, you know, Education Day. And
Yeah, we might at the end talk a little bit about that. Where we're referencing a different event that took place this past weekend.
I'm going to let you guys talk about that while I grab more tissues. Be right back.
Yeah, we got one more video to react to H.
I know. I'll be back.
Okay.
and it's like,
Well, he's like, I need a Kleenex box.
man.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah, so this past weekend, so we'll touch on it briefly until like Lauren gets back, and then we'll probably do a separate video for this. But this past weekend, HD Reach had their annual Family Education Day, which takes place in the Raleigh area, North Carolina. And then we had, I think our final number is 122 attendees. So it was a great event. We were in a bigger space. This is the most we've ever grown comparatively to previous years. And H was there. He was streaming from the event with Drake on our Twitch channel. So we
First time
have,
I met Drake,
yeah, first time you met Drake.
which still blows my mind because like Drake is such a presence in my life that I'm like, oh yeah, I know this guy, and then we met in person and it was
Yeah.
casual.
Well, it's like at Congress, I was going up to people and you were introducing yourself, and I'm like, Oh, right. Yeah, you're new. You don't know everyone yet. Um, but yeah, so we'll touch on that. But if anyone's interested, we'll be doing another video talking about Education Day. And the HD Reach Twitch channel and YouTube have recaps of the keynote, Ask the Experts, and there's also on the Twitch channel live commentary from H and Drake. So, but back to HDO. Back to our final,
From here.
huh?
We'll let Melissa just take it from here.
Oh, yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and check out H's final video, which I believe no one yelled spoiler alert when I was asking this question, but it is a post-Congress reaction video. Yeah. See, I'm like a mind reader. I have so much practice with anticipatory grief that I can just anticipate other things. That's the connection here.
Again, it's been 1 week since Prague, and I'm back home and back to real life. It's been strange. It's felt surreal, coming back home and being away from everybody that became family, and helped form a support that I've never felt before. Prague was amazing. I learned so much just from talking with other people. It gave me a lot of strength to talk about my experiences and my journey, just by hearing other people's experiences and their journeys, and helped me find the right way to navigate having difficult conversations with family members. I recently told my sister about my gene status, which was a huge step in our relationship, and our relationship with HD. And I will be forever thankful for the people that helped me get there. I don't know if that conversation would have happened if I hadn't gone to Prague, if I hadn't gone to Congress and formed those relationships and found that support and developed that family. The post-Congress blues are a real thing. It hit me almost immediately while I was still there. The last day when everybody was leaving the room and everybody was saying thank you and congratulating people, and the awards ceremony, as people began to file out of that room, it felt like my family was leaving after a big get together. And that was hard. That was really hard. All of those emotions hit me really quickly. It was almost immediate. But even since then, people have maintained contact. I've been messaging with people. I've been having more conversations more frequently about HD. I've been talking with my friends. I've been talking with coworkers. I've been more open, and I've been more confident about these conversations ever since Prague. And maybe I'm just still riding that high, that experience, that uplifting feeling. But you know what? I'm going to continue to use it to talk about this. Prague will, and when I say Prague, I mean HDYO International Congress. That Congress will forever play an integral. Wow. It will always play an important part in my HD journey. Integral. There we go. It will always play a really important part in my HD journey, and it will be a significant marker for the rest of my life. It really will be. And I'll always look back on that as an extremely positive experience that I think anyone that is connected with HD would benefit from.
Incredible video, H. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have warned Lauren about that one a little bit maybe, but Lauren actually is the person that I had the conversation with that led to me talking with my sister.
Okay, well, I'm glad that I was able to help, because that conversation meant a lot to me, and that I could share. And we talked about this, and I'm so glad that you were able to talk with her. And how did she take it? How did she handle it?
Um, pretty good, I think. We've been talking a lot about resources and navigating HD, and I'm just, my perspective of it is that she feels like she has somebody to rely on. And that means the world to me, to be able to do the stuff that she doesn't have the strength to do some days. Yep.
I'm really glad that I could help. It's the whole reason I go is, for that. So
Just had to find you in Prague instead of 20 minutes.
right, 20 minutes away.
Yeah. I will say there's been like so many events I've gone to, and it just takes like that one conversation with that one person. Like there's probably like a whole host of things that could lead you down one path or another, but just like I remember my second big event, and just I was jumping back and bouncing back into that like feeling super alone. And the final morning, we were waiting for our ride to the airport, and I met a woman in the lobby, um, who reminded me so much of my mom. And I don't know who she is. I've never found her again. And I swear she's real. But all that to just say that I think just you meet the right people when you need to meet them. And um like we all need guides on this HD journey. Like none of it's easy. It's real effing hard. I'm not gonna swear because I don't want Erica to have to do too much editing after this. But you know what I want to say. It sucks. Um, but like there's just so much out there, and if we just have these opportunities to meet with each other, connect with each other, and like go to these sessions that like spark these conversations too, and like spark these feelings within us. And what a beautiful place to do that when there are people all around you who are there to talk about it, and want to talk about it and don't want to shy away from it or offer unsolicited opinions, which sometimes you get those anyway, um, but for the most part, you find people who genuinely care and listen and want to know what you need in that moment.
I feel like this whole thing shows such a growth of our community. And my first event was an HDSA event, and the National Youth Alliance saved my life. I tested gene positive. I was 20 years old, had no clue how I was going to deal with everything. I was only a year married, and by myself, in this journey, really. And I went to convention, and National Youth Alliance saved my life. And I feel like from that has grown this incredible thing, right? So now we have these NYA people who have gone to other places and started growing things themselves because of finding gaps in the community, or because of just realizing like there's this need on a larger level. And it's not to be in place of anything, right? It's to supplement, to fill these gaps, to um to help each other. That's the whole purpose of it. And there is no competition. It is truly collaboration, and this shows that in so many ways. And I think for me, that's why it's such an important event. And I feel so blessed because I'm in North Carolina with so many of those people, you know, and so coming back and having those blues, it's actually made easier because of those connections that we have built and made and continue to do, to work to make sure that others in the community have it too. I think that's just incredible to see.
Yeah, I could definitely easily say that quite a few moments and times, and especially like my first time going to even just an HD support group, and then my first time to a convention, and then meeting the National Youth Alliance, and like even being a volunteer at HDYO camp like this past August, and like even pieces of like going to Congress now, like it's always saving my life.
Yeah.
Like we just need this. And the desire I have when I find someone out there who isn't connected, and trying not to overwhelm them with like all the, like, I'm like, you could have all of this. Like this is
Love and
all here
support.
for
Yeah.
you. Yeah. And just please come. And
Because we know what it's like to not have it, you
yeah.
know, and it's the reason that we have gotten as involved as we have, you know, all of us. That's why we are at the level we are at, is because we know what it's like to not have it. We don't want anybody to feel that. And yeah, we want everybody to feel what it is that we found, for sure.
I think along with that is an important conversation too about how to manage it. I feel like the number one hesitation I hear is that HD is already a part of my life. I don't want it to be like my whole life. I don't want to, and you know, that's also sometimes how you burn out. Like sometimes you need, there's phases of it, right? And you know, I went all in, and I went to every HD thing I could imagine besides HDO stuff. I mean, it was being created, like I was there for the creation of it, but somehow I didn't make it to any of those events. Um, but yeah, I was just wanting to go to everything. And I feel like now, um, you know, I look at someone like you, and I've definitely have said this to you quite a few times, where I'm like, I don't want that path to happen for you. And I know your schedule conflicts, and you won't be going to convention this summer, which makes me sad. But
If I
also,
hear one more person say that my schedule conflicts and I won't make it, I'm gonna change my schedule and I'm gonna make it.
I'm gonna stop talking about it then. 'Cause
No, no,
I'm like,
no. I
great.
totally agree with you. I totally
Yeah.
agree with you. I don't mean to cut you off, so go ahead and continue your thought.
No, but that's what I was gonna say, is that like having that balance. And um um I guess I was gonna kind of end that with a question to you, H. Like now that you've been part of Game Over HD for about a year, you went to HDYO Congress, first like big huge event this past weekend, the Education Day, and now like how are you feeling about like big events like that in general? Like, do you feel like you want to strike a balance, or do you just feel motivated, like you want to go to a lot of things?
I'm sort of thankful for the way that I've gotten into this. Like Game Over HD has just been like, has been casual for me. It's been like, this is something cool. Like I enjoy this. It's connected me with HD in a way that like I am extremely comfortable. And then Congress was an opportunity that I was like, how can I pass this up? Like I can't possibly pass up an opportunity like this, like the potential impacts. And then boom, you see like, as we've all seen just now, like all of the strong takeaways from something as impactful as HDYO Congress. And then Education Day, where I got to sort of see the other side of things, and being in like the behind the scenes, and sort of air quotes working that day. And like,
Oh, we put you to work.
yeah, yeah. But like getting to see that side of it. And so I feel like I've navigated it in a way that has shown me a lot of variety. And yes, like the short answer is yes. Like I'm really excited to get more involved and see what I can do and see what other opportunities are out there to whether it be make an impact um or or talk with people or work or like just move some boxes like just knowing that there are lots of different ways to play a role within this community makes me excited, because you can sort of from my stance right now, I can sort of pick and choose. Like, do I want to do the working side? Do I want to do the participant side? Do I want to do the sort of hands off again for a minute and just chill and play some games with people who are also impacted, and then talk about it in that setting where I'm extremely comfortable. Um, so I'm definitely at a point where like there's forks in the road, but I don't ever feel like it's forks in a way that like they don't come back together. Um, it it's like it's a very nice flow, and who knows? I mean, uh, I think it also depends on your HD journey and your comfortability around it because
I
I
agree
mean,
with that. Yeah.
6 months ago, like I wouldn't be able to be talking like this right now. But like, and that's different. And so I'm getting more comfortable in those conversations and I'm very excited, but I'm definitely taking my time.
So I agree that it really depends on your HD journey, and yes, you have to have a balance, and but for some they need more of that participation in the HD things in order to cope, and it's their coping mechanism. And you know, I am absolutely that way. And while burnout is always a thing, the reality is I can either burn out and be miserable by myself and try to pretend like I'm going to put it in the back of my mind, or I can be proactive and help people and let myself have my coping mechanism. And yes, there is potential for burnout, but it's not to the level of being completely miserable, not being part of something. So like for me, I can't lose, like I can't lose it. I have a hard time because I know like everybody says this, like you can't make HD every part of your life, but HD is part of me. It is 100% there and is part of me, and I can't sit there and pretend like it's not. And I don't think that is a bad thing. And if when I've learned for myself, if I try to deny that side of me, it doesn't go well for me mentally. So, for me, I have to have that coping mechanism. That being said, that doesn't mean that I don't take the moments, you know, away and make sure that I focus on my kids and not HD. And so, yeah, it's just a balancing act. And I think a different level for each person and where they are in their journey. And there are going to be different parts of that journey, right? So just because I say this now doesn't mean like in a year from now, I won't be like, okay, now is my time to back off and take some time. But yeah, I've learned for me that I can't completely go away from it. I have to have my coping mechanism, which is
Yeah.
being part of it.
No, I'm glad you brought up like coping mechanisms because um I feel like more than like how you involve yourself in HD is how you process your involvement with HD. And just for me, I'm realizing that one thing that has been beneficial for me is tying in people who I interact with on a day-to-day basis and who mean a lot to me, tying them into my journey with HD and whether it be like advocacy or working, like tying in my my personal support group, like my friends, family members, into that part has helped me, because when I step away from those things, I have something that's big for me is shared experiences. So when I step away, I can then have that conversation with somebody that was there, that shared an experience. Maybe not in the exact same way, but they have some insight to what the day looked like, or like, oh yeah, I could see how that could be really tough because we were all really tired, or just some a simple exchange of relatability. So I'm learning that, like, uh, for instance, like my wife came to Education Day, and she worked that day, and it was really nice to have a person to step away with and be like, "Oh, that was awesome and tough." Was really beneficial, and so that's navigating that is new, but it's a coping mechanism for sure.
So, would we all recommend that, given the opportunity, people should go experience the HDO International Youth Congress?
1,000%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I
And for those who don't know, it's hosted oh, I was gonna, what's the word, every 2 years? Biannually? Right?
Every 2 years.
Yes, every 2 years. I was trying to be like really smooth and smart sounding with it, but so edit that out, Erica. So HDO International Youth Congress is hosted biannually, always in a different location. So the first location, the first time it was supposed to be hosted was actually because of COVID. It was moved to a virtual option, and then when it was in person for the first time, that was in Glasgow. Uh, and then and then in Prague was the second in-person event. So we don't know where it'll be next time, but you can stay tuned to the HDO website and their socials. They're very active, especially with their ambassadors posting on their socials with different tips and tricks and all kinds of good information. They do a lot of great summary articles when there's new news coming out for research. Just another great resource. And then hopefully on the off biannual year of International Youth Congress, typically they've hosted a camp, and so we'll see if they'll be able to do the North American Youth Camp again, but they've also host youth camps in other countries as well, where those resources are desperately needed. So we will stay tuned for that.
Yes, that's all exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, the end, right? That's
Yeah,
The end.
it's like, take us home, Erica. Anything else?
I'm like, got nothing.
That was a great wrap.
I
Right?
know. I was like, I feel like we do need to make Jenna watch these videos and like
I know,
get
right?
from her.
Ooh.
That would be great.
Let's
Right.
scratch this entire thing and do it over
Honestly,
again.
Done.
Let's just do another one with Jenna.
There we go.
I think we should. I think we should.
Let's get Jenna reacting to this video of us reacting to H's videos of him
Inception.
reacting.
No, that's
We
awesome.
can start a crazy Inception.
For
Absolutely.
sure.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Big hearts to Jenna, Maddie, the HDO team. You guys were just
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Thank
incredible.
you for all of it. It's so incredible. I just can't say enough good things about all of it. And really shout out to Jenna for coming into this community and truly immersing herself into a community and becoming part of the HD family like she has. I don't think people realize just how much she actually does, and the incredible ideas she comes up with, and yeah, she's been great.
Jenna Howman is the executive director of HDO, the one-man show. She has other people. There's other people that help, but Jenna is the essential part of HDO, of getting everything together, of making this happen, and it would not be possible without her.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, thank you guys for being with us, and
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next time.